Hello there, many thanks for joining us on Africa in View, your current affairs program that examines policies, events, and developments shaping Africa. I am Adenike Uweye Ajiboye. Across Africa, migration has always been part of the continent's history. For millions of Africans moving within and outside the countries in search of education, employment, and better opportunities remains a pathway to economic advancement. However, as labor migration continues to grow, so the concerns around irregular migration, exploitation of workers, human trafficking, skills loss, and the need for stronger protection mechanisms. Nigeria, like many African countries, is both a source and destination country for migrant workers, while migration contributes significantly through remittances, skills exchange, and economic opportunities. Poor regulation and lack of awareness can expose workers to serious risk. This has increased calls for stronger labor migration governance that protects workers, promotes safe migration pathways, and ensures migration contributes positively to national development. Today, we ask on African in View, what are the major challenges affecting labor migration governance in Nigeria and, of course, in Africa? How can government create safer and more organized migration system, and what role should employers, private employment agencies, PEAs, play in this? These and many other issues is what we will be examining today on Africa in View. But first, let's look at some of the major stories making headlines in Nigeria. Welcome back from that break, and if you've just joined us, you're watching Africa in View. And now joining me today are two distinguished guests, Miss Isabella Hussein, representing the Nigeria Employers Consultative Association, NECA, and also Comrade Jide Afolabi, Secretary of the Employment and Employability Professionals Association of Nigeria, APIAN. Thank you both for joining us virtually on Africa in View.
Thank you.
And I must say a very warm welcome. To Miss Isabella Hussein, labor migration continues to increase across Africa from an employer's perspective. What are the major challenges affecting labor migration governance in Nigeria and, of course, across Africa? And why should Nigerians be concerned about migration issues?
All right, thank you so much. Thank you once again for having me. The challenges with labor migration are quite a number. I know that Nigeria has done a great bit, in addressing some of those challenges, but some of the issues or challenges that still affect labor migration governance, you find that one is still the role of unlicensed recruiters, especially in Nigeria, because Nigeria is a very strategic country because it is both a country of origin, destination, and transit. So you find that the work of unlicensed recruiters, which often gives a bad light to the recruiters. I believe Mr. Folabi will be able to talk more about that. So there's that bit, and this stems from the fact that there's not a lot of awareness when it comes to fair recruitment principles, right? So a lot more needs to be done around awareness, both even for the recruiters, that's the unlicensed ones, and even for the migrant workers themselves. And that's why they are often prone to exploitation. When you hear about concerns, especially from member companies and other employers or businesses, you find that that interagency coordination is not as strong or seamless as it should. Now, even at a point where a lot of things are being digitized, it almost seems that that digitalization is now becoming kind of like a roadblock, or like a hindrance to getting the work done. So there's also a lot more that we need to do, even more amongst the stakeholders. Now I'm referring to the government, I'm referring to employers, and I'm referring to labor as well. Now we acknowledge that we're doing a couple of things, but more still needs to be done in that area. And then I think another key area is enforcement. Enforcement mechanisms are not as strong as they should be, because if they are, then governance issues around labor migration will be better off. Then I think the last one I will talk about will be the skills mismatch between that's when you talk about the demand and the supply. So there's that huge gap when it comes to skills mismatch. Those are some of the issues and challenges, and it's not just Nigeria, it goes across Africa as well.
Okay, now employers are key stakeholders in labor migration. What basically should be the role they need to play in order to promote fair recruitment and also ensure migrant workers are better protected?
Yes, so employers play a very major role when it comes to labor migration, governance especially. So you see that employers are responsible for upholding fair recruitment principles, providing decent work, and even complying with existing labor laws and labor international standards, and all of this is in a bid to protect migrant workers. Now, what we need to do more as employers in terms of playing our role is in terms of strengthening our effectiveness, especially when it comes to collaborating with other major key stakeholders. That includes the government, that includes the workers' union, and even the civil society organizations. Now, it's very critical for employers because we don't just see labor migration as just another social issue. We see it very strategically as a skills issue. Now, if we're able to, to mitigate some of these challenges, then initially I spoke about skills gap. So a lot of these skills mismatch would be corrected, right? Because when we talk about labor migration, it's not just about Nigerians leaving; it's also about the migrant workers who come into Nigeria, and then it's also filling up that space that when our workers leave, we're able to fill it up. So there still needs to be that coordination, because what we find now is there are jobs, right? But the required skills to do them are lacking. So these are some of the challenges that we experience and why employers also need to play a very major role when it comes to labor migration issues.
All right. Recently, you had stakeholders dialogue, of course, on promoting what we're talking about. Now, what are stakeholders basically doing to stop or address migration challenges? I mean, you talked about CSOs too. What role are the CSOs playing at the moment? Are they doing enough? If not, speak to us about what it is expected of them to do, and what you're also doing to enhance this?
Yes, so recently we just had a 2-day stakeholders dialogue, and recall when I said that coordination and collaboration between stakeholders needs more strengthening. So this was just one way, and we were able to do that with the support of the International Labour Organization, that's the ILO. Very critically, the CSOs were also part of that conversation. That's been represented by the CSO NetMade. Now, you find that the CSOs are the ones majorly at the grassroots, and the people who we are actually talking about, the young ones especially, are those ones who majorly don't have access to information or the right information, and they are the ones who are more prone to exploitation, right? And the CSO also do a lot when it comes to skills as well, collaborating with skills. And we know they do a lot with the union as well. And that's why we deemed it very critical for them to be part of that conversation. Now, the entire conversation was about not just a talk show, right? It was about looking for practical ways that we can, mitigate some of these challenges that I had earlier highlighted. So yes, we're not just looking at the tripartite when it comes to discussing labor migration. The CSOs are part of it, and we're very open to collaborating with other major key stakeholders in this regard.
Okay, now I take you on, Comrade Jide Afolabi. Comrade Jide Afolabi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Thank you very much.
Okay, so many Nigerians are seeking opportunities abroad. Obviously, is migration itself the major problem, or is the real challenge about irregular migration and or poor recruitment practices?
Okay, thank you very much. First and foremost, let me appreciate you for bringing us this afternoon. Let me also indicate that the correct name of IPIAN is the Employer Association for Private Employment Agencies of Nigeria, IPIAN. Migration is never an issue, and as you may be aware, that migration is a fundamental human right. People have been migrating from time immemorial, so it's never a crime to migrate. It's not, it shouldn't be an issue for us to migrate. Unfortunately, if you look at the global perspective to migration between the global south and the global north, you discover that the global south are, of course, having some challenges, which, of course, they expect that the global north will supply. If you look at the developed countries like Canada, the UK, and so on and so forth, they are looking towards Africa to get them skilled workers. So it's never a crime to migrate. And why we have issue of regular migration today is because the space is shrinking. Many people want to travel, they don't really have the idea of how to go about it. The awareness is low or is poor in some cases, so they expect that they will get information from organizations, bodies like ours, the civil society organizations, the government, and that is one of the roles of the Migrant Resource Center and the job centers across Nigeria. Of course, even the NELEX, National Electronic Labour Exchange platform. But the most important thing in traveling or in migration is to note that there's a pathway to migration, and that pathway guarantees safe, regular, and orderly migration. And that pathway is to, first and foremost, get an agency, a private employment agency or an outsourcing firm that has the international recruiter's license, that has the right to engage in international recruitment. Get such agency, look at the offers that they have, the vacancies that they have. If you have the required skills, apply for some. They take you through. Before you can leave Nigeria, the recruitment agency will ensure that your details are submitted at the Federal Ministry of Labour and Employment, and then the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment will organize a departure orientation seminar for would-be migrants or prospective migrants, so that they can have idea of what they are going to do, where they are going to, that is from Nigeria as a country of origin to the destination country. And of course, they will also look at the offer letter. They will look at whether it conforms with the national laws and international labor standards. If it does, then they go ahead with the departure orientation seminar. And what do they do at the departure orientation seminar? They teach you what you probably don't know about the country of destination, their currency, their language, their labor laws, and other things. So you get to have first-hand information about the country you are going to and economic impact that such country in your life.
Brigide, now let me quickly ask you. I mean, you are the secretary of APIAN, which represents employment and employability professionals. What role, basically, do private employment agencies, that's PEAs, what role do they play in promoting safe, fair, and regular labor migration? And how can job seekers identify the genuine ones? Because we see on the internet, you know, so many adverts there, which in most cases they are just fake. So how do they identify this? And what should the PEAs play?
Thank you very much. You play very critical role when it comes to labor migration, because we get in touch with our partners overseas country of destination. We get a letter of intent of showing that there are vacancies available at their various companies. When we get this letter, that's when we put out the advert for people, prospective migrants to apply. So whichever advert that is coming from any members of APIAN, I can assure you they are genuine. That's number one, because we would have done background check for the company abroad to be sure that they are not fake. Because as much as we have fake agents in Nigeria, as much as we have fake companies in Nigeria, we also have them abroad. It's not limited to Nigeria. So we would have done the background check. That's number one. Then number two, ensure that the right skill set that you have is what you are matching with. You know, we have the challenge, just as Madam Isabella mentioned it earlier, that we have skills mismatch. But for us, we have looked at the skills you have and look at the available vacancies to ensure that the skills are matching to the available vacancies. Beyond that, we also take you through the process. The process of conducting the with you, ensuring that the relevant medicals are done, ensuring that you get your visa, ensuring that there's a place for you to stay when you get to the country of destination, and so on and so forth. So there are a whole lot that APIAN members, licensed private employment agencies in Nigeria are doing in ensuring that we have what we refer to as a fair labor migration. Then the second question, how do we get to know these fake recruiters that are out there? Number one, when you see, yes, how do we identify them? Number one, when you see any vacancy, check the name of the company. When you check the name of the company, you can go to epian.org, www.eapean.org, to check whether such company is licensed or not. Also, you can also go to NELEX portal, nelex.gov.ng. You can go to the portal as well to check whether that company is licensed or not. Number two, if any company asks you to come and pay money, whether in advance or that after you have gotten the job, you'll be remitting some certain amount to them, I can assure you such company is fake. Because by virtue of our laws and international labor standard, every recruitment fees should be charged to the employer, not the employee. I can't imagine somebody who is looking for a job after such person to pay money. I can assure you, such company that asks you to pay with me is a fake. They are not licensed, because no licensed company you ask to. Number three, any company that is not ready to give you an offer letter, employment letter from Nigeria here, I can assure you.
Right. Okay. Many thanks, Comrade GJ. I'll now go straight to Miss Isabella. Most times we see migrant workers. Some of them are being deported, and they get in here, and they don't just know how to start. Can you enlighten Africans on what stakeholders or agency to guide protect and reintegrate these migrant workers?
All right, thank you. So for migrant reintegration, we have agencies that are actually involved when it comes to migrant reintegration, one of which, of course, is the ministry, right? But then again, we also have other agencies. I think there's one, the IRARA, and there's also many more. I know even the workers' union, they also play a major role in reintegration as well. But of course, a lot still needs to be done, because a lot of the times, many of the migrants that leave through irregular pathways, so they are not accounted for. And then, unfortunately, when certain issues happen over there in the country of destination, they have to be deported or repatriated, and then because there's no plan per se, or funding available for this thing, sometimes it can be a bit challenging. But that's not to say that when they return, there shouldn't be things that are done for them. So there's also the migrant resource centers as well that also deal with reintegration as well. So there's a process, the same way Mr. Jide mentioned about the process for pre-departure. There's also another process that comes into play when migrants are being reintegrated back into the society.
Okay, another question. Now, I'll pose this to Comrade Jide. It is very important now I think there's need for you to enlighten Africans about the dangers of patronizing fake or unlicensed recruiters. And what are you doing as EPN to ensure that, you flush out or arrest these fake agencies?
Thank you very much. EPN is doing a lot in addressing the issue of unlicensed recruiters. Just recently, we had a partnership arrangement with the Migrant Resource Center and Job Center in Lagos here. And what we do, we identified unlicensed agencies that are out there. We brought them together, organized an information session for them, and after the information session, if not all, a good number of them obtained their license, and today they are member companies. That's number one. Then number two, we also engaged in an extensive radio jingles. Of course, we had the radio jingles in different languages, in the three major languages that we have in the country: Igbo, Hausa, and Yoruba, in addition to the English version. Basically, the radio jingles educating or enlightening the public on the dangers in patronizing unlicensed recruiters. Beyond that, we are now moving towards engaging the principal employers in the country and, of course, abroad to stop patronizing these quacks in the system. As I speak, probably by next month, we also go ahead again in a program titled Moment with EPN. It's a 30-minute radio program, of course, a phone-in or call-in program where members of the public will have opportunity to ask questions on labor migration, on issues that has to do with employment generally, both within and outside the country. And again, we're also partnering with other private employment agencies, especially within Africa, to ensure that they can easily do background checks for us in their various countries. We recently had a workshop where we had our partners from Ghana, from Kenya, from Senegal, and so on and so forth.
Okay, so I'll go to you, Comrade Jide Afolabi. So can you also let us know how important bilateral labor agreements and collaboration between government, employers, and international partners in making labor migration safer and, of course, more beneficial?
Thank you very much. The issue of bilateral labor agreement is very key, and of course strategic to partnership between countries, especially the destination and the origin countries. However, bilateral labor agreements are usually between countries. Like, for instance, we have a bilateral labor agreement with Qatar, that's Nigeria and Qatar. We have also bilateral labor agreement with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. As we speak today, those are the only two countries that we have bilateral labor agreement. However, negotiations, conversations, engagement are still ongoing between the federal government of Nigeria and some identified destination countries where we have more Nigerians moving into. The essence of bilateral labor agreement is that it spells out the labor relationship, the labor migration relationship between Nigeria and the countries of destination. And of course, it helps to protect migrant workers, whether they are in Nigeria or in the destination country. Basically, that's what bilateral labor agreement is. However, it is not an easy task to get an agreement signed. For instance, the agreement we recently signed with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the agreement has been there for probably more than 5-6 years. That it has been, the discussion has been ongoing, but thankfully that was sorted just recently. So it's important. If you want to protect Nigerian workers, Nigerian government must ensure that we have bilateral labor agreements signed with most of these countries that Nigeria usually travel to. And in addendum, when we have bilateral labor agreement, we have had some countries that we have seen the model of the migration ecosystem. For instance, today we talk about the Philippines. You can hardly see any Philippines working anywhere across the world without them having bilateral labor agreements with such a country. And the same thing should be applicable to Nigeria, because it helps in even protecting our workers, that's Nigerians working there. It also helps to boost our economy, because when people move regularly, remittances will not be an issue.
Movement right now. So you have heard we are still talking about how we can promote free, fair recruitment and migration in Africa is still very crucial, and there is need for Africans to be aware of their rights, the need for government to also ensure that they include or involve the stakeholders in BLAs in such a way that they will be able to scrutinize these, and also they can come up with policies that will help to guide migrant workers, and then we can also have free, fair recruitment and migration. And of course, when you talk about decent work too, all of these is very important. So right about now, we will take a short break and we will be right back. Stay with us. All right, so Miss Isabella, I would like to know from you what policies you think government will have to come up with that will help to, of course, promote fair, free recruitment, and of course protect migrant workers across Africa. And so this point in time, but my time will not, of course, permit me to do that. However, many thanks for joining us today. My sincere appreciation to both of you, Miss Isabella Sen of the Nigeria Employers Consultative Association, NECA, and many thanks to Comrade Jide Afolabi, Secretary of the Employment and Employability Professionals Association of Nigeria, EPN, for sharing your valuable insight. We say many thanks. Now, viewers, labor migration will continue to shape Africa's future, but of course, its success depends on strong policies, ethical recruitment, responsible employers, informed workers, and effective collaboration among government and, of course, stakeholders. Now, remember that informed citizens build stronger nations and meaningful conversations that shape better policies. We only hope that the all governments in Africa can do something very critical, especially for the ones that are not living up to expectation in promoting of free, fair recruitment, and of course protecting migrant workers across the nation. And so right now we will take a short break, and when we return, it will be time for us to look at the African country that is special, and this time Morocco. So join us again. Welcome back from that break. Yes, of course, the program is Africa in View. Yesterday on Africa Spotlight, we shine our spotlight on Morocco. Yes, Africa Spotlight is about where we celebrate the history, culture, and of course, achievements of countries across Africa. So, where is Morocco? Morocco is located in North Africa. Morocco is known for its rich cultural heritage, historic cities, diverse landscapes, and growing economic influence. The country has invested heavily in tourism, renewable energy, manufacturing, and infrastructure, creating employment opportunities and attracting international partnerships. Morocco is also home to a large diaspora community, with millions of Moroccans living and working abroad. The country has developed policies that maintain strong links with its diaspora while encouraging migrants to contribute to national development. From its ancient traditions to its modern economic transformation, Morocco represents the diversity, resilience, and potential of the African country. And of course, Morocco is a beautiful continent, as you can see, so beautiful. And of course, keep watching, take a look, and of course you can decide to take a trip to Morocco. Like the saying is believing, so maybe your next trip can be to Morocco. And of course, that is it on Africa Spotlight for this edition of Africa in View. Right about now, I must say many thanks to all my viewers. Thank you so much. And this is where we wrap it up here and drop the curtain. Always remember that informed citizens build stronger nations, and meaningful conversations that help to shape policies. And of course, this is where Africa would always ride on. Thank you so much. I am Adenike Uweye Ajiboye. Remember to join us again for another interesting edition of Africa in View. And it's goodbye.